The crisp morning air nipped at my face as Mark and I set out at the crack of dawn. I couldn't help but grin, feeling that familiar buzz of excitement coursing through my veins. This was what we lived for, the thrill of the unknown, the promise of adventure. "Ready for this?" Babe, Mark asked, his green eyes twinkling as he glanced away from the road. I laughed, running a hand through my auburn hair. Born ready. Though I might need another coffee soon. The winding mountain road stretched before us, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the misty landscape. I watched as the sun slowly climbed higher, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. It was moments like these that made me fall in love with Mark all over again, our shared passion for exploration, the easy companionship, the unspoken understanding. "So tell me about this trail," I said, pulling out my phone to snap a quick pic of the scenery. "How'd you find it?" Mark smirked, that adorable half-smile that always made my heart skip a beat. "Remember that guy we met at the climbing gym last month? Jake?" "He mentioned it, said it's a hidden gem." "Ooh, Jake," I teased, wiggling my eyebrows. "The one with the abs for days." "That's the one," Mark chuckled, completely unfazed. Our open relationship had long since removed any hints of jealousy between us. "Anyway," he said, "it's pretty challenging, but the views are insane. Thought it'd be right up our alley." I nodded, already feeling the anticipation building. "Sounds perfect. You know me, always up for a good challenge." I let my hand rest on his thigh, giving it a playful squeeze. Mark's laugh filled the car. "Behave, Jen. We've got a long drive ahead." The next couple of hours flew by in a blur of conversation, laughter, and the occasional comfortable silence. We stopped once for coffee and snacks, stretching our legs and soaking in the fresh mountain air. As we got closer to our destination, the roads became narrower, less maintained. The GPS signal flickered in and out. "You sure we're going the right way?" I asked, peering out the window at the dense forest surrounding us. Mark nodded, though I caught a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Yeah, Jake said it'd be pretty remote. That's part of the appeal, right?" I couldn't argue with that. The further we got from civilization, the more alive I felt. There was something intoxicating about being out here, just the two of us, far from the noise and chaos of our everyday lives. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of bumpy, winding roads, we pulled into a small, overgrown clearing that barely passed for a parking area. As we stepped out of the car, the silence hit me. No traffic, no chatter, just the whisper of wind through the trees and the occasional bird call. "Well," I said, stretching my arms above my head and feeling my muscles protest after the long drive, "we're definitely off the beaten path now." Mark came around the car, wrapping his arms around my waist and pulling me close. "You ready for an adventure, Jen?" I turned in his embrace, rising on my tiptoes to plant a quick kiss on his lips. "With you, always?" As we reached the trailhead, I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. The crisp mountain air filled my lungs, and I turned to Mark with a grin. "Ready for this?" I asked, adjusting my backpack. Mark nodded, his green eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Let's do it." We set off, the well-worn path stretching before us. The forest was alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves. I paused occasionally to snap photos, capturing the sunlight filtering through the canopy. Around 1 p.m., my stomach started to growl. "Hey, how about we stop for lunch?" I suggested, spotting a mountain refuge ahead. "Perfect timing," Mark agreed. As we approached the refuge, I noticed a young man sitting alone, his military-style backpack propped against a nearby tree. He looked up as we neared, offering a friendly smile. "Mind if we join you?" I asked. "Not at all," he replied, gesturing to the empty spots around him. We settled down, pulling out our packed lunches. The young man introduced himself as Alex, a 19-year-old sailor on leave from the Navy. There was something instantly likable about him. Maybe it was his easygoing demeanor, or the way his blue eyes lit up when he talked about his adventures at sea. "So, what brings you guys out here?" Alex asked, biting into an apple. I swallowed a mouthful of sandwich. "Our friend Jake recommended this trail, said it was a hidden gem." "Jake's got good taste," Alex nodded. "I grew up around these parts. know these mountains like the back of my hand. We swapped stories as we ate, laughing at Alex's tales of Navy life and sharing some of our own hiking misadventures. It felt strangely natural, sitting there with this stranger, as if we'd known him for years. As we packed up to continue our hike, Alex hesitated. "You know, there's another route I know. It's a bit more challenging, but the views are incredible. I could show you if you're interested." I glanced at Mark, seeing the same curiosity in his eyes that I felt. "What do you think, babe? Up for a challenge?" Mark grinned. "Always." "Lead the way, sailor," I said to Alex, feeling a thrill of excitement at the prospect of an unexpected adventure. We hiked deeper into the forest, laughter echoing through the trees as we navigated the winding trail Alex had recommended. Sunlight streamed through the canopy, casting a dappled pattern on the ground. Each step felt like an adventure, and the fresh air filled my lungs with a sense of freedom. "So, Alex," I began as we climbed a particularly steep incline. "You mentioned you're on leave. How's that going?" He chuckled, wiping some sweat from his brow. "It's been nice to have a break, but honestly, I'm not used to having this much downtime." Mark, always curious, added, "What do you usually do when you're off duty?" "Mostly catch up on sleep and read. Sometimes I hike if I get the chance," Alex answered. "Not much else to do on a ship, really." Intrigued, I decided to probe a little deeper. "What about your love life? Any special someone waiting for you back home?" A faint blush crept up Alex's cheeks, his eyes darting away momentarily. No, not really. Been too busy to meet anyone." Mark smirked, his eyes gleaming with amusement. "That's surprising. You must have some stories." Alex shrugged, his confidence waning a bit. "Honestly, not much to tell. Training and deployments don't leave much room for dating." Taking advantage of the moment, I couldn't resist pushing the envelope. "Well, you're young. Plenty of time to figure all that out." "Yeah, I suppose," Alex muttered, though a curious glint sparkled in his eyes. As we continued, the topic naturally shifted. Mark, never one to shy away from openness, began talking about our lifestyle. "You know, Jennifer and I have been together almost 10 years now," he started, gauging Alex's reaction. "We've made it work by keeping things interesting and flexible." "Flexible," Alex echoed, the blush returning. "Yeah, we're in an open relationship," I explained, enjoying the mix of curiosity and embarrassment on Alex's face. "It keeps things exciting. Lets us explore and grow together." "Wow. That's different," Alex admitted, his gaze shifting between us. "It's not for everyone, but it works for us," Mark added with a reassuring smile. We arrived at a secluded water source, perfectly picturesque. Crystal clear water bubbled up through the rocks, forming a small stream that wound its way through the forest. "Time to refill," Mark declared, pulling out his water bottle. As we bent down to fill our bottles, the isolation of the spot became more apparent. The sounds of the forest seemed amplified in the silence. Mark, always the jokester, glanced around and said, "This place is so perfect, it'd make for some interesting outdoor activities." Alex's face turned a deeper shade of red, but his curiosity betrayed him. He tried to play it cool, but I caught a glimpse of intrigue in his eyes. Sitting back on a rock, I watched Alex, noting the way he shifted uncomfortably yet couldn't hide his interest. Playfulness sparked within me. I placed my hand on his thigh, causing him to freeze, wide-eyed. "So, Alex," my voice dripping with teasing, "ever wondered about trying new things? Different dynamics?" He gulped, visibly flustered. I guess. Never really had the chance." "Well," I continued, my hand inching slightly higher, "sometimes you just have to seize the moment." His breathing grew shallow as my hand gently explored his growing excitement. Mark chuckled, clearly enjoying the tension. "You okay there, Alex? You seem a bit tense." Alex managed a nervous laugh, eyes flicking between us. "This is definitely new." "Embrace the adventure," I whispered, feeling him tremble beneath my touch. The forest around us seemed to hold its breath, the isolation inviting a sense of liberated abandon. My hand lingered on Alex's thigh, a silent promise of possibilities yet to be discovered. Alex glanced at Mark, looking for reassurance. Mark simply gave him a knowing smile that spoke volumes, silently encouraging him to embrace the moment. "It's our way of thanking you for the beautiful trail," Mark said, his voice calm and steady. Alex visibly relaxed. His previous inhibitions started to melt away as he felt the touch of my hand with clear purpose and intent. I could see the mix of curiosity and excitement in his eyes, a blend that was both intoxicating and empowering for me. I knelt before him. There was no hesitation or second guessing, just the pure thrill of the adventure we had embarked on together. Banana greeted me, and I couldn't help but feel a rush of satisfaction at his reaction. Mark's camera clicked softly, capturing the moment. Knowing he watched with a mix of pride and fun only heightened the experience for me. Then, I began my magic. Everything about this felt electric, from the rhythm to the sounds of nature around us. Mark's presence, always a comforting anchor, made the experience all the more thrilling. As I continued, I could feel Alex's nervousness completely fading, replaced by waves of fun. The sun filtered through the canopy of trees, casting dappled shadows over us, setting the perfect backdrop for this. Mark leaned forward, his eyes twinkling mischievously. "Alex, you want to take things further?" Alex's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of red. I'd love to, but I don't have any protection with me." Mark chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Don't worry about it, man. It's not necessary." That reassurance sent a thrill through me. The taboo nature of what we were doing, out in the open, under the cathedral of trees, made my skin tingle. "Come here, sailor. Show me your skill." His touch was gentle, tentative. I encouraged him, whispering, "Don't hold back." That seemed to light a fire in him. The gentleness dissolved, replaced by a fevered need. The sound of our connection, primal and raw, blended with the rustling canopy and distant bird calls. "End it whenever you want," I gasped, my voice barely more than a breath against the breeze. That request drove him over the precipice. My own ending crashed over me, blending with his, an echo in the vast wilderness. We stayed intertwined for a moment, catching our breaths, absorbing the intensity of what had just unfolded. Slowly, we separated, the forest now a silent witness to our adventure. Collecting our scattered clothes, we dressed, a sense of camaraderie settling among us. We resumed our hike, our steps lighter, the bond between us strengthened by the raw, unbridled encounter we shared under the canopy. We made it back to the car, just as the first stars began to prick through the twilight sky. I saw the tired but satisfied smile on Mark's face. Alex stretched his arms, still catching his breath from the hike and everything else. "I can't thank you guys enough," Alex said, laughter in his eyes. "This has been unforgettable." He offered me his phone, and we exchanged numbers. His fingers brushed mine ever so slightly, sending a spark of the day's exhilarating memories rushing back. "Stay safe out there, sailor," I said, giving him a quick hug before he slung his backpack over one shoulder and headed off. The car doors shut with a familiar thunk, and we started our drive home. The engine's hum seemed to blend with the buzz of the day's excitement still coursing through my veins. I couldn't resist sliding my hand onto Mark's thigh, my fingers tracing distracting patterns. "You're insatiable," Mark chuckled, his eyes glancing from the road to me, a spark dancing in his green irises. "Can't help it," I replied, a smirk playing on my lips. While his hands stayed steady on the wheel, I dipped my head. I felt his sharp intake of breath. My tongue danced around him, slow then fast, mimicking the rhythm of the winding road. His hand found my hair, tangling in it, both guiding and grounding him. The sensation of Alex's thing still in me heightened everything: my audacity, the danger, the need. Each second seemed to stretch, weighted with its own electric charge. The car's vibration beneath and around us synced with the fervor. He kept one hand on the wheel, the other never leaving my hair, a silent encouragement. The sensation flooded through me, rippling outward, until I could no longer hold it in. We slowed to a halt, coasted to a stop along the road, my hands anchoring on his thighs as we both caught our breath. Mark lifted my head, his eyes soft yet gleaming with the remnants of our shared adventure. "Best road trip ever," I teased. Absolutely, his grin matched mine, and for a moment, the night's cool air and the stars felt like they were all ours. The engine purred back to life, and we continued down the road, hearts racing for whatever awaited next on this journey we'd chosen to share.